Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harrison. I read, review, and discuss fantasy and science fiction books. Today, I have for you a tier list of my favourite Cosmere characters. So, we're already in the productivity zone, but we're going to shift straight over into the tier maker and let's get right down to it because we've got a lot of characters. Okay, so here we are. Now, let me take control of this. Let's start talking. So, the Cosmere is, as I'm sure many of you know, Brandon Sanderson's big whole shared universe experiment thing, where all of his books are set in the same universe. Some books lean towards sci-fi, most lean towards fantasy. But we have literally like 100 characters here or whatever. And what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these characters from down in the bottom in this big old character block and we're going to put them into the top. So I have read everything in the Cosmere except for like three things. So I've not read Elantris, which is the major missing gap. I've not read White Sand. And I've not read the Emperor's Soul because obviously you have to read Elantris first. The other thing that I will say is that my memory for stuff that I have read a couple of years ago, which this is not amazing. So unless they're my favourite characters, there may be a lot of people in the don't know, don't care section. Speaking of which, so this guy is the protagonist of White Sand, I think, or one of the protagonists of White Sand. And I haven't read White Sand, so don't know this person. Adeline is an absolutely fantastic character. Adeline has gone from being someone that in the early books of the Stormlight Archive I was not that particularly bothered by, but when we get to the final book, I think he is in one of the most interesting plot lines in the whole series. So Adeline is going to be my first S tier pick. It's another White Sand person. Orianne, I don't care about her. Don't care. Ruin is the villain of the Mistborn first series of books, and while they are interesting, I don't think you really get to see them enough to make them anything more than a C. This is another White Sand guy, I think. If any of these people, I'm like, this is a White Sand guy, and they're not White Sand guys, sorry. But I did give you the disclaimer that my memory was terrible right at the beginning of the video. So, Blushweaver. I don't particularly care about Blushweaver as a character. I feel like she only has a couple of memorable scenes. She's one of the returned in Warbreaker. Warbreaker, while I enjoyed some aspects of it, was one of my least favourite entries in the Cosmere. Despite it being the one that I would probably recommend the most to people, it was just not what I was looking for at the time when I was reading it. So yeah, I think that this one's going to go... I'm going to put Blushweaver in D because I just genuinely don't feel anything towards her, but she's not in the don't know, don't care section. Pretty certain Orianne, by the way, is in the first Mistborn trilogy, but I guess we'll find out when people tell me in the comments that I'm dumb. Breeze. Okay, so Breeze is going into... Breeze is my favourite of the crew in the original Mistborn. Is he an S tier character or an A tier character? This is a real big decision. I'm going to go with an A tier character because I feel like the S is going to otherwise like massively fill up. Set. So Set is somebody that I know but can't. So let's just Google them. All right. Okay. Don't care about this person. I was right. Cheery. Don't know. Sorry. Don't know. So don't know whether I should care or not. Clubs is one of the... I think Clubs is a solid grade B in that he doesn't particularly stand out that much. Maybe... yeah, a grade B. doesn't stand out that much. Don't know who you are. Dalinar Kholin. Hell yeah, straight in grade S, straight in the S tier. One of my favourite characters that Sanderson has ever written. One of the most interesting and complex characters. A huge fan of Dalinar. Got a lot of time for this character. This guy, so is this Delius? Delius? What are we doing? Who is a Delius? Delius is former Haldane. Delius. White Sand. Oh, they conned me with a White Sand guy right at the end. Denth is one of the mercenaries from Warbreaker. I don't know why I keep forgetting the name of that book. I think he's going to go in here. Well, maybe he was quite funny. The mercenaries were like the most interesting part of Warbreaker. Yeah, they're going in B. Dilaf. Who's Dilaf? Is this a good video idea? Elantris, excellent. Every time I'm like, oh my god, is this someone that I've forgotten that's like a major Stormlight Archive character? And most of the time it turns out they were just in Elantris or White Sand so far. Dabbid. Should we check Dabbid out? I just ignored Dabbid. Dabbid in the Cosmere. Oh, he's one of the rubber. He's one of the blimmin'. He's one of Bridge 4. He's one of the rubbish ones. This guy's definitely a White Sand lad. He's going straight in. Doxon. Doxon, is he less interesting? I'm going to throw him in there again with B. Edward Ladrian. Really interesting character. The Wax and Wayne books are my favourite books in the Cosmere. There are two of Mistborn. And I thought that Edwarn was a really good villain, and I liked them across basically all of their appearances. And the fact that they were Wax's uncle, I think, made them really interesting. Elend Venture. So I really liked Elend a lot more than most people do. I think that Elend is designed by Sanderson to try and appeal to the reader because he's a huge reader and he's a big nerd. And then he becomes like an anime Super Saiyan. But I did enjoy the final book with him and Vin. I thought that their relationship was really good as the books kind of evolved. And yeah, generally had a pretty good time with Ellen Venture. So he's going to stay on there. Elakar Kholin. Oh, are we going to fill this S tier with just Kholins? Maybe. So I'm not going to go into spoilers for the Stormlight Archive. I'm not going to go into spoilers too much for Cosmere stuff. I would recommend that you not watch this unless you've read the Cosmere, because I will say things like, oh, I liked this person across all 4 Stormlight Archive books, and then that tells you that that character is in all 4 Stormlight Archive books. But Elakar, I thought, was an incredibly interesting character. They're very hateable as the story begins. And then you get this incredible moment of openness between them and Kaladin. And I just really enjoyed that conversation. And then the changes that Elakar goes through as the books go on. Really enjoyed that character. Yeah, big moment for him in Oathbreaker. And yeah, a great character that I would love to read more about. Elorin, who are you? We're Googling. Elorin Cosmere. White Sand! Hell yeah! Goodbye, son. Eshonai. Eshonai is the Parshendi warrior that you get some POV chapters from. Eshonai is very interesting. I'm going to go with a B for Eshonai. I think that a lot of the POV chapters you get for Eshonai are very interesting and give you that real view into the Parshendi. The big issue with Eshonai is she just doesn't get enough screen time, I think. Evie Colin. So this is a Colin that's not going to go in the top tier. So Evie is, unless I'm mad, do you know what? We're going to Google this because we don't want to. Evie Colin is. So she is right, as expected. She's what I thought. She's Adeline and Renarin's mother. A character that does not get anywhere near enough screen time, and so unfortunately, not really much to say about her. I think she probably could have been given some screen time so that she is more her own character and less Dalinar's wife, Adeline's mum, you know. But as it stands, yeah, we'll go in D for that one. Who the hell is this? Who's Galadon? We're Googling Galadon. Elantris, sweet. Gallant, I don't know who that is, and I'm going straight into the no section. No. Gavilar. Gavilar is a very interesting character. So Gavilar is the king from the prologue of Way of Kings, and I think that the further more you get to know about him as the books go on, the more interesting he becomes. So Gavilar, yeah, really interesting. And genuinely, there are many Stormlight characters where I'm like, oh, I just want to know more about this person, what's going on with this person, I want to see more of their backstory. But Gavilar, I think, is one that we've seen a lot of backstory, and I still want to know more. Gorks, don't know who you are. I'm going to do less Googling now because Gemmel, nope, no idea. Ham, yeah, going to do less Googling because otherwise this is just you guys watching me Google for an hour. And while I'm hoping this isn't going to take an hour, I am expecting a large portion of characters in there. Ham is great. Ham is the other really strong character from the original heist crew in the Final Empire. He gets a bit more time as the series goes on, and is kind of a nice stabilizing character. So you don't get too much depth from him, but that's kind of okay in my opinion. Okay, straight in there. I don't know. Hesina. This is where I'm going to like put the protagonist of one of the Sanderson books in here and just not realise. Hoid. So I would imagine that most Cosmere fans will tell you that Hoid is an S tier character. For me, he hovers between the two. So I think I would probably lean towards S tier from some of the stuff that I have seen about him. But yeah, for me, I think that Hoid is very interesting. They're very multifaceted. And the different sides of the character that you see as the books go on are very interesting. Human, the like troll guy, I don't think he's worth discussing. I don't particularly know. Elysadius, she is very interesting. She is quite a well-written character, and the kind of machinations behind the throne idea. Again, don't get to see too much of her, but I do think she's quite interesting. Allomancer Jack, I mean, I don't think we need to talk about him. I've read the short stories that he's in, and they're completely forgettable. So I wouldn't even put him on the D level with Evie Colin and Blushweaver, who I know who they are and remember their impact on the story. I don't really remember anything about Allomancer Jack. Yasna, straight up in the S tier. The Colin family are big in my book, big fans. And she's maybe the best Colin character. She's definitely one of the most interesting. And the kind of relationship that she has with Shallan is very exciting, and then also with some other characters who I don't particularly want to spoil, but definitely other characters on this row. Next up, Jack Slim. So I know this name, which is why I'm going to Google it. I said not much Googling, but I am going to Google it because this. Okay. Oh yeah, right. No, she is Ashenai and Venli's mum. She can go in the D tier because she's got some interesting quirks and kind of character stuff, but for me, not really one that I think is worth. Does she go in here? Maybe what we should do, guys, is we should just weed out all the ones I don't give a shit about. So there will be in this. I will pull people out who you'll be like, oh my god, how can you not care about this character? But that's the way it's going to go. Okay, so we're going to go straight in. We're going to get rid of Kabsal, Kadash, Kanpar, Kenton is a White Sand guy, clearly. Chrysala, yes, I mean, she's important, but does anyone know anything about her? Kin, no, going straight in. Yep, lep, yep. I mean, Lirin. Who knows anything about Lirin? Laramar, no. Morassi, excellent. Mash, no. Milan, yeah, excellent. Moraes, who's Moraes again? We're Googling Moraes because I know that name. Moraes is a world topper as a member of the Ghost Blood. Yeah, okay, this guy, interesting. Yeah, we'll keep him. Nail, yeah. Navani, yeah. Nightblood. Don't know who you are, you're going. No, don't know who you are. No, Hadon. Oh, she's like a queen of somewhere, I feel like. She's oh, king, not queen. Kind of look like a queen. Okay, yeah. Old guy from the past. Don't know. Who? What's this say? I don't know what that even says, and this fan art, unfortunately, you can't always get on board. Nope. Yeah. Nope. Renette, yeah, great. Who? The problem is they've got people who are like Spren in here, and like I don't know who this Spren is, for example. And yeah, these are all great characters. Serene, we're googling Serene. Is this the worst video of all time? Who can say? Serene, she's in Elantrian. 6L, Silent Spontaneous, don't know who you are. Siri, Sixth of the Dusk. I will read this book. One of my friends loves it. I will read it. I just haven't. Who's this? This is literally, is this Syl? We're going to say that that's Syl, but they are unlabeled as far as I can see. Yep. Telson Ladrian, yep. Tensoon, Zane, Windle, Wax, Wadget. Don't know who you are. Yep. Don't know. Tonkfar, know the name, don't care about you. Tindwell, she's interesting, but not really. Tien. Okay, we have everyone. So we have all the characters now. I think maybe we should Google Timber as well. Oh, yeah, no, Timber. Good, interesting. I've got time for Timber. Right, so let's go back in, and we're going to start with everyone's favourite character, Kaladin. So, Kaladin is really well written for 3 books, and then spends 1 book being pretty insufferable. So, I've popped him in the A category. Insufferable is a really harsh way to talk about this, and it's a hard thing to discuss because a lot of it is very spoiler filled. but due to the consequences of things that have happened in previous books, Kaladin is having a very rough time, and that I'm just not vibing with in a lot of ways. It's hard to go into, to be honest, without spoiling too much. But I do really like Kaladin. I think he's excellent in books 2 and 3 of Stormlight Archive. And if you asked me then, I'd say he was probably my favourite POV character for those two books. But book 4, it's a real split between some of my favourite stuff for him and some of my least favourite stuff for him. And I think that it stems a lot of in that Kaladin has depression and is dealing with this mental illness, and Brandon Sanderson is trying he's writing depression from the point of view of someone who has not had it, to my knowledge. And he's asking people who have depression. He's talking to them. He's trying to understand things. But I think that depression is quite nuanced and hard to understand, and it's not something that I think he really nails as a writer. Kalak, I forgot we were going to Google Kalak. Is a herald. Okay, Kalak's a herald. I don't care about them. Kelsier, what a banger of a character. What an absolute S tier. So Kelsier is super interesting in book 1 of in book 1 Final Empire, and then kind of the rest of the series as they go. But I think he gets most of his screen time in book 1. You do get some a novella from his POV, which is very interesting. Kelsier is super cool because they are incredibly competent, incredibly powerful, incredibly dangerous. And also they are very much kind of like we're going to do what we think is best, even if it's a huge negative for the world. So yeah, Kelsier, lots of interesting stuff with Kelsier. I think in many book series, Kelsier almost could be the villain, which I find is a really, really interesting way to write a character. Chrysala, I mean, I think we talked about this before. She's on the edge of don't care. She has a really good scene in Era 2, and I would like to know and see more about her. And I know that she is important to the Cosmere, but for me, I think not really much to talk about here. Preservation, I think that it's sensible to put them next to each other, Artie and Ruin and Preservation. The depiction of Preservation when they kind of are interacting in the original Mistborn trilogy was very good, I thought, and I liked the way that was handled, and the way they were kind of like losing a piece of themselves. So yeah, big fan of that. And again, it's one of those like not enough time to really say what I feel about this character, but I think that a C is good for that character. Leshwi is super interesting. I really like a lot of the Parshendi characters, and Leshwi is one of the Parshendi. I can't remember their name now. They're like the old cursed Parshendi that are all half mad, and Leshwi is one that kind of takes an interest in Kaladin, and I'm kind of like pushing for a Kaladin Leshwi romance. I don't know why. I feel like that would be a really interesting story to take. Hard to talk too much about her, obviously, but big fan so far of everything I've seen of her, and I would like to see a lot more. Lift is my least favourite character in the entire Cosmere. She's like below don't care. She's in the actively disliked tier. I think Lift is the worst character Sanderson has ever written. I think she is just annoying to read about and to read from the POV of. I would almost say that yeah, I mean, I've said it there. She's the worst character Sanderson's ever written. I think she's intolerable. If I knew someone like Lift in real life, I would literally never spend time with them. Light Song. Light Song is great. Light Song's probably the most interesting character in Warbreaker. He's going to go here in the A tier. Light Song is very fun, and I liked the relationship that he has with his like assistant guy, and kind of the revelations there as the story goes on. I thought, yeah, Light Song, lots of time for Light Song, and one of the best parts of Warbreaker. Lopen's going up. He's in the S tier. Lopen's really funny. Lopen is like the exact opposite of Lift. Lopen is like this character that I like every time they're on screen. They make me laugh. They are fun to read as a POV and fun to read as a character in a scene. Yeah, Lopen, one of my favourite kind of comedy Sanderson characters. And I know that people often say Sanderson is not great at humour and comedy, but I feel like Lopen is one of the times that he really nails it, versus Lift, where it's the time that he really does not. Marassi, super interesting character. I would struggle between S and A for this one. I think we may end up with an A tier. We're going to end up with an S tier character, S tier, A tier character, because Marassi is she is one of the great supporting characters in the Wax and Wayne series. I almost felt like the series was in a good place to be handed off to her as a new, or that we could maybe see a novella or full novel from the POV of Marassi. So yeah, I mean, that kind of tells you how I feel about it. I mean, most of these characters here are POV characters, or we've had POV chapters from, where Marassi we have had POV chapters from, but I do think she would be a great novel protagonist. I think she'd be great for the whole thing. Marsh, I'm going to roll Marsh down in B. I think that he's not a particularly interesting man, which is why he's not as interesting a character, despite his interesting place within the lore. I've got a lot of time, lore, Lore, not Law. Got a lot of time for Marsh. Don't have a lot of time for this video though, so we shouldn't probably spend 2 minutes talking about every character when there's still a billion left. Milan. Oh, is Milan the first? No, Milan's going to go in A as well. I almost put them in the S tier because they are one of those characters again that really, really works for me in terms of comedy and the way that they kind of use their magic and skills in the stories. Lots of time for Milan. Again, would like to see more from that character. Amaram. Amaram's probably a D. There's not really much to him. He is kind of just kind of self-interested and not very interesting. So I think he's going to go down there. Miles 100 Lives, fantastic name. One of the best kind of named characters in Wax and Wayne. And I thought that the way that he used his powers was very good. And I thought he was a great villain. I don't think that he might be on this level actually. He's going to be here, I think. And I think we should probably move Edwarn down. Yeah, we're moving Edwarn down. He's going to be in B now. Moash. Oh, Moash is a great character. Is he an S tier character? He's had S tier moments, that's for sure. I think we're going to end with an A tier character. And Moash is incredibly interesting. There's an entire subreddit that is very active, dedicated to Moash, which can tell you a lot about how important that character is to the story. I always want to see more about this character. Big fan. Moraes. We don't know enough about Moraes to say all that much, but I can say that his appearances are interesting. And I think that's probably a great way to leave it. Nail. Nail is kind of give or take on Nail, to be honest. He has a couple of POV interludes, I think, which I did like. But overall, I think he's kind of one of those characters that we're going to see more of, and that will help me make my decision. Navani, she's going straight in the S tier. I've got so much time for Navani. As a scientist, is a very interesting character, and the interaction that she has with I can't remember her name now, with the Parshendi character in book 4, really strong. We're here with Raboniel. So the interactions she has with Raboniel in book 4 were fantastic. I had a lot of time for this character, and I would like to see a lot more Navani as we go on. Nightblood. Is Nightblood all that interesting? Nightblood is interesting from a lore perspective in the same way that a lot of characters are. However, is not particularly interesting from an actual they're a character perspective. Nightblood's also a sword, which makes it hard for them to be the most interesting characters. Pattern is great. Pattern, I think we'll go with the bottom of B here. Pattern's almost a C tier character. He's a lot less interesting than other Spren that we meet. And while I've got a lot of time for Pattern, I think I want to see more I want to see more of that kind of bond development and stuff like that. Raboniel. Is Raboniel going to go in a B? I think so. She's one of my favourite Stormlight villains, because I feel like she was very nuanced. A lot of the Stormlight villains are not as plain and cut and dried villains as you see in other series, but I do feel like Raboniel in particular was the one that really struck with me. And I think the kind of history behind the character and how long they've been around also makes her really interesting. Renette. Renette almost a don't care, because she's only got a couple of scenes. She's, I think, Sanderson's first gay character, which is interesting, but I don't really think that adjusts her on the ranking. Is she going in the bottom rank or in the middle? Well, I say bottom or middle. Is she going for D or C? I do like her interactions with Wayne, especially in The Lost Metal. Yeah, she's going in C. Rashek. Rashek is... Oh, Rashek's the Lord Ruler. Interesting character that we don't really get enough time with. Renarin's going straight in at the S tier. Renarin is maybe the character I'm most interested in Stormlight at this point, in terms of what's happening with them and what's going on with them, and the future for that character. So yeah, I think Renarin is maybe top of S tier for now. Relaine, incredibly interesting character. I think I'm going to end them up here. I really liked the kind of infiltration, as it were, in the early book, and then kind of coming clean, and then bonding the Darkspren. Lots of really interesting stuff going on with Relaine, and yeah, I mean, I've said it over and over, but I would like to see more of this character. Rock. Rock is this fan favourite character, and I'm never 100% sure why. They're not a bad character. Not even this D list is not characters that I think are bad. They're just characters where if you were like, would you like to read an entire novel from this POV? I'd probably say no for the D list. Definitely would in Lift's case. She's always going to be the very bottom. She can have her own tier, honestly. She makes all of these guys look like bloody the Colin family. Risen. Oh, I love Risen. I think that while I still don't know or understand what a Dawnshard is, despite the multiple attempts to explain this to me, I do think that Risen is super interesting. Fantastic disabled representation. And yeah, I mean, we've had a whole novella from her POV, and I still want more. Sazed going straight in at the top. I've got a lot of time for Sazed across all the books that he's been in. Hashtag no spoilers. He is a super interesting character, and on top of that, I think that yeah, I think there's a lot of implications for things that could happen with Sazed that I'm a big fan of. Shallan, yeah, S tier again. So people don't like Shallan, and those people are dumb. I'm just saying it now. That's my point of view. I think that Shallan is one of the best characters in the Stormlight Archive, and even though she has one of my least favourite story sections in Words of Radiance, which is the section where she hangs out with Tin, yeah, just not a fan of that section, but I love her overall as a character. No Tin in this list, which shows you that I'm right and that she's a terrible character. Sigzil is really interesting. I want to see more from Sigzil. He's kind of on the same level as the also ran heist crew members. There is a specific thing that you find out about Sigzil that I won't spoil because I think it's really interesting. However, taking into account not that thing that I'm not going to spoil, I think, yeah, grade B is pretty good for Sigzil. He's interesting. He's obviously the member of Bridge 4 that can read. So yeah, lots going on there that I did like. Siri is probably Apple's digital assistant. No, she's probably the most... Her and Lightsong are the most interesting parts of Warbreaker. A lot of these grade B guys are like also rans, and I don't think Siri is that, so I'm going to throw her in grade A. Spook. Spook's like the king of the also rans, if that makes sense. I think Spook is a really interesting character that there are hints that we will see a lot more from them, and I would like to see that. So I'm going to throw them in B, but for now, for now we'll leave them in B. Steris. Oh, is Steris an an S grade character? I feel like she becomes one, but she doesn't have enough screen time early on to just... I don't need to justify it. This is my list. I'm saying it. So Steris is an S tier character. I love Steris. She's absolutely fantastic. I like the kind of personality quirks. I like the relationship that grows and builds with Wax. All over fantastic character. Yeah, really like where her story ended up. The Stormfather. You just go D. There's not really anything going on there. Strath Venture. D. Yep. Suzabron. By the nature of a certain thing that has happened to this character, I feel like they end up in the B tier as not as good as Siri and Lightsong. I found a lot of the revelations around them interesting, but yeah, I don't know. I'd like to have seen more of this character, I guess. Syl, oh, I love Syl. Is she an S tier or an A tier? Genuine question. I think we're going to go with... Yeah, I think she's a stronger character than most of the characters here. So I'm going with an S tier. I think she's lovely. I think she's really interesting. I think her relationship with Kaladin is really good. So yeah, we're going to go with S tier. Seth. I feel like Seth is an A tier with potential. I want to see more of this character. Taravangian, straight up in the S tier. Won't really go into why, but Taravangian is genuinely fascinating and interesting, and everything great. Teft is a solid A. I'm speeding up a little bit because I realise I'm spending a long time talking about smaller characters like Steris, and not talking about things like, I don't know, I've probably spent less time on Kaladin than on Steris. Teft is really interesting. I liked their story. Teft is probably like a top of A, bottom of S tier character. Telsin's kind of going to live with Renette. I think that she had some interesting things about her, but the character themselves not that interesting. All good boys are S tier characters, no discussion. The Pursuer is interesting. I liked their whole shtick of like, they can't die, they just keep coming back and they keep hunting you down. I thought that was really good, and I liked their relationship with Kaladin. Tien, unless I'm mad, right? Tien is Kaladin's little brother, in which case I don't particularly care, but they can go at the bottom of D. Timber you can't really talk too much about without talking about Venli, but the little you have from Timber, I find them really interesting, and I would like to know more. Tindwyl is Cesar's love interest in whichever the second Mistborn Era 1 book is. I'll forget to cut that out, so I'm not even going to tell you I'm going to do that. Tindwyl, while I do have some time for Tindwyl as a character, I feel like she's just not around long enough, really, to get enough to rate her above a D. Sadeas, one of my favourite villains in the Stormlight Archive, maybe my favourite. Yeah, I mean one of the best villains in the Stormlight Archive. Incredibly well written, very interesting character with some fantastic motivations. Lots of time for Sadeas. Vasha. Vasha is. I liked Vasha a lot in Warbreaker. Yeah, let's go with a grade. I think he is as interesting as Syrian Light Song. Bit more interesting than characters like Denth, although Denth was very funny. Vasha, I think, yeah, there's a lot of interesting possibilities for Vasha, which is one of the things I'm most excited about. Venli. This is going to be another controversial one because I love Venli. I think that her POVs in Rhythm of War were a real breath of fresh air and a real break from the stuff that I wasn't enjoying in Rhythm of War. And yeah, lots of potential for her character. Would love to see where that goes. Vin is another S tier character. We've got a lot of S tier. We have more S tiers than any other rank. I wonder if there's some characters I should remove here from the S tier. Maybe Cesar can go down one. And no, Lopin is really funny. Yeah, I think we'll keep Vin up here. I mean, she is the protagonist that made me fall in love with Sanderson's work. I've got a lot of time for Vin and her appearances in the Cosmere. Yeah, I think we'll leave that there. I think she's a great character. Vivenna was less interesting, I have to say, than most of the other characters in Warbreaker. The fact that it kind of ends up being her book as well, quite difficult for me. But yeah, still like the character and, you know, want to see more in the eventual Warbreaker sequels we've been told we're getting. Wax is Wax my favourite Cosmere character? Yes, I think so. Wax is my favourite Cosmere character. He's my favourite protagonist that Sanderson has written, and I've just got like infinite time for him. I think no. Oh my god. Yeah, I've got like infinite time for Wax, and yeah, one of those characters that I could have read a 20-book series about Wax, and would have been absolutely fine. On the contrary, Wayne, I think, is just okay. I don't know whether I'd put him in C. I think probably a B. I think that he has a lot of great character moments in the final book in the Wax and Wayne series, but really, other than that, he's kind of just there as comic relief. He's almost like Lift, but he does some of his more of his humor works than Lift's. Windle is attached to Lift, and so therefore looks better by comparison. And he's kind of fun, actually. Yeah, we're going to go with Whittle in grade C. Zane is also a grade C. Zane, the last character on the list, was, I think, not great mental health representation by Sanderson, but also I think I'd have to say that he felt a bit like a YA romance antagonist almost. Like, he was added in book 2, and he kind of felt like how the Darkling feels in Shadow and Bone. Very much like this character that's like, oh, we shouldn't, Zane, you know? It just didn't work for me. So that's the tier list. We've done it. We've done the whole thing. Those are all the characters. Wax is my favourite, and Lift is the worst. And I don't really care about who all these people are. If one of these people is incredibly important and I've forgotten, I'm sorry. And yeah, let's go back to the one shot and we'll close this video out. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video where we went through a ranking of Cosmere characters that I barely remembered. Maybe I should have ranked the books. Maybe I should have done a tier list for the books. After last week's tier list, I had so much fun making that video, and then also tons of people watched it. So I'm hoping that this video is of interest to my subscribers and the audience that I'm hoping to cultivate here. So if you like tier lists, please do suggest some in the comments down below. I absolutely, as I said, we'll probably get round to doing Cosmere books tier list. I don't know if I should probably read Elantris first, right, guys? And then some other tier lists I'd like to do at some point in the future. But for now, this is me signing off from this week's tier list video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will speak to you next time.